Hello friends, it is Mina and welcome to another video on this YouTube channel. Something that I have been striving to do more of in this newly created space is just to bring the conversations to light that I feel are lighting me up in my own life. So whether that is a add-on, an addition to a conversation that I am seeing online, or something that is coming from meditative space, personal practice space, any of those things, I want it to just be an organic, natural flow of what comes through in this space. So in today's video, I really wanted to share some thoughts and some personal accounting, as well as pull some cards from the tarot around this conversation. So I recently saw the two-part video from Eluña. Eluña is an Akashic channeler that shares monthly updates, and one of the few channelers that I follow on YouTube. I strive to not follow too many people that are doing similar things, because you will find that the conversations do repeat with different channelers, but also just because I want to find a balance of how much information I consume at any given time with my social media addictions, right? So channelers will come into my life through what I gravitate towards, and same as any relationship, it could be season, reason, lifetime. And so I do like to occasionally watch Eluña's content. Now, in the March update video, she had shared the realization and some thoughts around doubt. She had said in her channeled messages that doubt is a program that we have. And there was a lot of very, very great pieces of information in that space, 333. And so I will share the part 1 of that video in the description box below. And then through seeing the initial one, you can find part 2 as well. But after I watched that video about doubt being a program, I wanted to hold space for that for me. Something that I have struggled with throughout the entirety of this incarnation is my battle with fear. Fear from a very young age has been this shroud over me. And I'm not sure if it's because of some physical abusive situations that I had at a very young age from both within and without the familial community. But fear has just been this shadow that has prevented me in certain ways from fully opening and sharing of my soul and essence in a very pure and unapologetic way. And doubt is definitely a part of fear. You know, when I think of doubt being a program, I know that that has been 100% true in so much of my life when it comes to what I have wanted for my life and what I have given up on or pushed to the back burner or set aside for any number of reasons. It has been related to doubt and questioning worthiness. Honestly, like when I was meditating on doubt being a program, that was one of the main areas that I connected with, was that for me personally, it has woven itself around this energy of being worthy. Am I worthy of these things that I say that I want? You know, am I worthy and ready to, you know, be this beacon of magic and mysticism and healing, you know, to be a shepherd and a steward and a space holder for creating transformation and healing for those that come across my threshold. I've been reading some really interesting books lately. I've been really just super passionate about reading. And I think that that is something that I will continue to weave into the habits of my day and space, just because I feel like leading with humility, always being the student and always seeking to understand and learn more, helps keep us collaborated. It helps keep us unbiased depending on what we're reading. So let me share with you my current read. I have been reading the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenze. I have seen a lot of interviews with Dr. Joe, and I know in the magical witchy community a long time ago when Becoming Supernatural came out, oh shoot, was that like 10 years ago at this point? I know that that had circuited around that community, and at the time I was like, I have no idea. But you know, at this moment in my life, this has been an excellent read. It kind of brings me back to law of attraction energy. I believe that Dr. Joe Dispenze was probably on the secret video, I believe. But quantum physics. And it's so interesting how these little drops of truth and alignment show up in our lives at different times when we're unfolding and discovering and challenging certain things about our belief system. So in my meditation today, when it comes to doubt and that being a program, I clearly saw a message from this book that I had read last night, where he was talking about the science of coherence and how in the space of quantum physics, we have the thought of the thing, which creates this electromagnetic pulse out. And then we have the emotion of the thing, which is the magnetic draw in, and that they both need to be lit up and aligned in order for manifestation to happen. And that was showing up for me in this meditation surrounding doubt within my own life, because if I align with something that feels right to me, that I think and believe I'm setting intentions to become this person, first of all, it takes consistent work and truly a lifestyle change to be this new version of ourselves in order to break our previous habits and become who we're trying to move into. It's not just a 90-day workshop. It is a new life, new outlooks, new state of being forevermore. And I think that for my life personally, going through somebody, and this is not an excuse, but it is an explanation through understanding what my backstory is, through abuse at a really young age and very strict religious dogmatic beliefs, and then the pathway of unfolding and unwinding and releasing some of those beliefs and that trauma and trying to understand who I am out of that whole mess, and then rebuilding what it looks like in this space, it's something where I do have that incoherence, where, I set these intentions or I feel very aligned with something, but if it doesn't immediately manifest in the way that my vision sets it out that it should, that doubt creeps in. And I feel like many of us in the magical space go through this, especially if we are newly discovering this path and journey. We go through this space of, if it's not happening quickly or easily, then it must not be meant to be. And therein inserts this doubt into our lives. And so part of this meditation, after discovering and realizing how some of this has shown up in my life, and my very, very first spirit guide animal totem that I ever received as an adult showed up for me in this space, and really just in a loving but honest way said, this has affected you in all parts of your life, and you are not where you could be because it has been leading, or rather preventing, this movement. I saw this image of this iron fence and these little creatures on the other side that represented all of my intentions and dreams and things that I wanted to be, and, goals that I have for myself and ways that I want to challenge myself to expand and have more in alignment in my purpose. And there's that gate of doubt. And then I'm on the other side just looking at them. But I'm not moving. I'm not unlatching. I'm not opening. I'm not welcoming. I'm not being brave, which would be the opposite of doubt, would be that trust. Bravery would be the opposite of fear. That is the word that I identify when I struggle with fear. Okay, I want to be courageous and brave instead, So I got that image in my meditation, and it's almost like living in this suspended state, waiting for life to truly begin. But we are the ones that take that step, that unlock that gate, that welcome in these opportunities. Understanding that this is a lifetime journey. And in this meditation, when I was done understanding some of these things, I asked my spirit guide and I said, if doubt did not prevent me from aligning with my purpose, what would my purpose be? And I immediately saw one of the aspects of some of the passions and developments that I have sought out in the past. And it also is the one that has the most fear around it. So out of all the passions that I have within the categories that light me up, within the magical and tarot and astrological and channeling space and all of these things, the one that has the most fear around it is the one that, were I to let go of this doubt, would be my reality. And I also saw the hundreds of thousands of souls that are waiting for that to come forward. And it's really interesting how in Eluña's video, and this is just popping out at this moment, part of this narrative around doubt is that the individual, it doesn't matter, right? And that is something that has shown up for me as a rationalization to not pursue my dreams. I'm one voice. I'm one opinion. I'm one person, one practitioner. The world doesn't need me. They don't need my thoughts. There's so many other amazing people out there doing great things. There's so many amazing opportunities for people to connect. And that is one of the biggest feeders of doubt and one of the easiest ways for us to remain staying small. But it also reminds me of Dr. Michael Newton's books like Life Between Lives, Journey of Souls, or Between Souls, anyway, whatever, where in these books, this doctor, rest in peace, was a hypnotherapist, and now there's a whole institute of hypnotherapists that do this, that he would put his clients into an hypnotic state to understand what happened between their incarnations, life between the lives. You know, and in some of these discoveries, it was reviewing the life with their teacher or guide or mentor to see, like, did they challenge themselves? Did they overcome certain things? Were they able to move through what they had planned for that life? And nowhere in that conversation, and I do believe this popped up in that book as well, nowhere in that conversation was, it's okay that you wasted your life, that you didn't challenge yourself and didn't move outside of your comfort zone to truly be something great because someone else did it. Yeah, it's okay because somebody else did it. That doesn't matter. That wasn't part of your soul's mission. Your soul's goal was to say, okay, well, I'm just the backup option. So, you know, if it's truly needed, I'll step up and dust off my cleats and join the game. There's another game happening down the street, and that's the one you're supposed to be a part of. And you're the star runner. You're the star whatever, you know, but like if you're in the wrong game, the one on block L instead of block O, you know, you're watching other people saying we're all set, but they're waiting for you over here. So it's one of those things that we have to remind ourselves when we see so many amazing other people doing great things. We also have to be okay to reinvent the wheel. I've had so many people tell me, don't reinvent the wheel, learn the basics, you know? And I have thoughts about that. We have to be okay to redefine and declare something new. This is something that I've been feeling for months, but I haven't really made movement. Enter in doubt within my own magical practice. It's like I feel a sense that magic is starting to be redefined. The way that everything looked in the past, as far as ceremony and ritual and practice and supplies and what is needed in order to create change, those things seem to be evolving and changing. So it's important for us to understand the balance of reading the book, getting the knowledge, but also doing our own self-discovery through the inner work, through the work with our guides and guardians and our own higher selves, psyches, intuition, all of these things. So this just hit me so fully today. that this has been a scapegoat for me, that I have easily succumbed when it has knocked on my door and said, but do you? Do you need to, though? Are you worthy of that, though? Does your voice really matter in this space? Are you in it for the right reasons? Are you going to become someone else? Do you really even have capacity for this? Are you willing to be disciplined in order to make the changes necessary that are required of you? Doubt. You know? So I'm so glad that that conversation was highlighted this month. Because this month, before even seeing that video, I have been working on challenging myself and redefining what my bliss looks like in certain spaces. You know, I made a separate video on a new channel that I started called Romancing the Dragon, where I want it to be really much. I want it to be pretty much about relationships and dating as a practitioner and single life and all of these things. So part of what my goals were for this month that I started out with was, you know, I noticed in myself that there were lots of things that I want to do. You know, whether that is go for a hike or go on a certain adventure, you know, try out a new restaurant. And if I'm single and I don't have somebody to do those things with, I just don't go. And so this month I've been really working on starting to embrace the discomfort and challenge myself to do those things alone. I actually have a little note on my mirror. You can't see it, it's just up here, but it says, do it alone. You know, so instead of saying, oh, I really want to go for a hike today. Oh, person B, do you want to go with me? Nah. Okay, well then I just won't go. Instead of going alone, I just won't go since I don't have someone to go with me. You know, so that's just one of the ways that I'm working on trusting and allowing myself to stop being such a pussy. Respectfully. No, but be more brave and step out of my comfort zone more and trust the process. And that is one thing that Eluña said in her video, was she had related to the conversation and said that there were many times throughout her path and journey that she had a lot of doubt about the messages coming through and her ability to deliver them and, you know, all of these things. But when the doubt would show up, she would say, okay, I'm going to trust the process and keep going. And I love that, because especially for those of us who developed into the spiritual community, for me, growing up very religious and then having certain things that awoke my attention into what my true nature as a magic practitioner is, that transition, like I spoke about before, but then also moving into reading the cards, psychic travel, sharing messages when spirits come through, that requires trust, because society will say not possible. 25. There was another book that I was reading about paranormal conversations, and in this book the lady was talking about how we use every excuse that we can in order to avoid saying ghost or spirit or something of that nature in society, and still up to this point in time. You know, we'll say, oh, it must have been this, or you must have had this, or we'll call it energy, or we'll call it something more societally accepted instead of saying like my spirit guide, the spirit, you know, whatever. And so reading that, I was like, damn, that is so true. And so it's something that I'm starting to implement. So this one year, 2026, is really a year that I'm really ripping off the Band-Aid of doubt and having a very truthful look at my life and the ways that I keep myself small, or the ways that I make excuses, or whatever it is that I am not showing up for destiny, you know, and looking at those things so that way I can start to reprogram, recreate the structure and routine of my day-to-day to incorporate the things that feel heavy because there's doubt wrapped around them, but truly I need to lean into and embrace more than anything. So if any of those thoughts resonate with you, if you've also experienced the program of doubt in your life in ways that have sabotaged who you truly are meant to be, then I would love to hear your thoughts down in that comment section below. So I want to pull some cards today about the program of doubt. Okay. So I have my deck here. I do feel like I want to do a little spritz. First, I'm asking the cards, and of course the guides and guardians are with us, you know, how doubt shows up in our life as a program. And what I immediately get before even shuffling is the image of somebody outside of the crowd, kind of clutching their book bag to their chest, and the crowd, the collective, pointing at them and laughing. Ha 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 ha. You over there. You know, and this person is just ostracized. That might be an image that we struggle with when it comes to doubt as a programming, is there's a very real conversation of the embracing of the community. We want to feel part of the community. We want to belong. It's embedded in our DNA and our chakra system to be part of a community. And so when we approach a conversation where there is this fear or doubt around being ostracized from the community, that can be a very real limitation that we have to move through. Okay, so I have some cards that popped out here. 10 of Swords showed up as far as in what ways this programming of doubt impacts our lives. This is a card of betrayal, lies, deceit, manipulation. This is us rejecting ourselves, rejecting our worthiness, rejecting what we even open up, even a sliver within our aura, a whisper. This is actually mental / verbal abuse that we may or may not give ourselves. You're not worthy. You don't deserve it. You can't handle it. You're not disciplined enough. So instead of being open to possibility and challenging ourselves to be great, the doubt sets in, and instead we see it as a self-fulfilling prophecy. We look for reasons why we can't instead of looking for reasons why we can. And that's really a mindset shift. That's really the stories that we tell ourselves. But this Ten of Swords story is, it might crush you. It might devastate you. You might not be able to come out of it. And that's not true. That's not valid. We also have the Judgment card that popped up for this. How is doubt showing up in our lives? This card was also in reverse. The Judgment card is a card of resurrection. It is the phoenix. It is the death and rebirth. It is becoming something new. I think that there is a huge imposter syndrome energy that sometimes we experience when we are thinking about embracing our purpose and nature. Will I become somebody I don't recognize? I mean, that's kind of the goal, actually, but in a uplifting way. Will I change? You know, so there's this fear of when you come out the other side of that life will be harder and we won't be able to come back from it, is what I'm getting. I'm also hearing that ignorance is bliss. I'm getting the image of like someone putting their head in the sand. So that is another way that doubt is a program in our lives. Another way that it does show up is just denial. Denial of it. Denial of our calling, our purpose. Not recognizing the whispers of our higher selves, our intuition, or seeing possibility and potential. And then the last card here that we got was the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands in this state is standing at the doorway. It's the decision. This doubt as a program in this relation with the Two of Wands is saying like, I'm in between two worlds. The world of the known and the world of the unknown. And here I stand in between the balance. This one is very familiar. Familiar is safe. Unfamiliar is dangerous. Or so we tell ourselves. And so the programming of doubt is more heavily on that side. And we have natural physiological programs that want to keep us from danger, that want to keep us safe. So we have to look for ways that we are continuing to move through no matter what is showing up in this programming. How can we start to lean in more to trust and move more away from doubt? I guess I want to know what the advice is in order to start making shifts for our lives that are going to move us more in alignment with purpose. Okay, interesting. We got some intense cards here. So starting to make shifts. First card that we had that showed up was the 8 of Swords in reverse. 8 of Swords. So we're getting lots of sword energy here. This is definitely a mental ordeal. This is reconditioning our mindsets. The 8 of Swords in reverse is really an energy where we realize that we're not trapped, we're not powerless, we're not in danger, and actually we are just keeping ourselves in a state of suspension, in a state of limbo, in a state of held breath, as we wait for life to happen to us instead of doing our part to dance with the universe. We need to start recognizing that we are not powerless. We're not helpless. We're not trapped. We're not without our abilities and powers and resources and support team that can help us along the way. We also got the Lover's card. The Lover's card is that twin flame soulmate connection alignment. And I really see this being the reminder when we are struggling with this programming of what our North Star is. Where am I going? What am I moving towards? And what is my why? Why am I doing this? Why do I want to change? Why do I want to be more in alignment with this soul's purpose? If we have a clear understanding of what we are truly trying to accomplish in this incarnation, then when doubt creeps in, it won't overpower our efforts because we will already have a solid understanding and foundation of what our path is. 3939. So I really like that. This is what to focus on. So when we are saying just trust, when the program of doubt rears its little monster head, remember your why, remember your purpose, remember your calling, remember the union that you are striving towards with this Lover's card. And then the last way that we can begin to break down this programming, we have the 3 of Swords. 3 of Swords. I'm getting shadow work popping in. That could be because at the time of recording this video, we just came out of eclipse season, waning moon time period. We're at the last quarter, so it is dark moon, baby, and we are feeling it. This 3 of Swords energy to me is all about the journey of self-healing and what that looks like. You know, it could be a broken heart, betrayal, disappointment. Where are these doubts coming from in you? Where is the different parts of you conflicting with each other, creating this incoherent wave of energy when you're trying to be tight, routine, coherent, crisp, right? We're trying to be effective and efficient and precise, but we have all of this gunk in our auric field, in our different centers from the past that has hurt us. And so part of this reprogramming and breaking away from doubt to move into more trust and alignment is addressing this. Is sitting with, what parts of me are doubting this? Not in a way to convince or control or to correct, but in a way to seek to understand, to listen, to empathize, to nurture, to love, to support, to comfort. That feels true. That really resonates. And just working on some of those things. Now, lastly, I just want to pull a couple cards here, on the other side of this. On the other side of this, on the other side of this programming of doubt, what do we have? What is waiting for us? All right. So the cards that showed up here, first we have the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords energy, swords are a little bit conflicting. So we do see that it will be a little bit of a process to recreate, recondition. But I'm also getting the message of taking your power back. In some of these depictions of the tarot, it's like, well, the Five of Swords is like, we have our swords, and there are others in the background that are distraught, and we have all the swords. So I don't really consider this card to be taking from others, but I do consider that depiction to be where all of those individuals are different versions of us, and that those temptations and those mindsets no longer impact us. They're no longer a constant battle, that we have won that battle. I also see the Nine of Wands in reverse on the other side of this reprogramming. The Nine of Wands is a card that it's like you're so close, you're almost there, you're almost to your goal, and it hasn't been without its hardship. But just know that you are supported, you are nurtured, and there are beings and energies that are standing behind you in order to help you move forward. With this card being on the other side of that, I connect it with swift manifestation. I connect it with being able to clearly perceive your truth, clearly to be able to understand where you need to go. So I have this sense of surety. We are sure. We are clear. We are aligned. There's no fogginess in the mind. So I do feel like this is the coherence path that we see. And then lastly, we have the Sun. Best card of the deck. On the other side of this programming. So I do like that there were some cards that were like, oh, it's never going to be perfect. There might be some challenges. There might be some energies that we still have to work through, but we're going to know how to address them more easily when they show up. They won't have such a strong hold over us, and we'll be able to pursue our destiny and our purpose with clarity, sureness, confidence, trust, faith. And through this, I get this image of like, you know, a yogic in a meditative space, just like opening their chest and lifting their head to the sky in a vulnerability, in a gesture of love and trust and alignment. So I do see that on the other side of this as well. So those were some of the messages that I wanted to share in this conversation and with this reading. This was so impactful from Eluña. So I am sending so much love and gratitude and respect to her and her mission and what she is doing in this incarnation to bring us wisdom and truth and thought-provoking conversations from the beings that she channels. And I wanted to share my thoughts in relation to it. So thank you so much for being present in this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with videos as they come out. If you have any thoughts regarding this very in-depth conversation, please drop them in that comment section below. Also, sometimes when I watch other tarot readers or diviners pull cards, you know, I'll get downloads and messages based on what I'm seeing in those cards. So if you also received any separate messages while I was relaying what I was receiving from the cards, then I invite you to share that as well down in that comment section below. All right, this is Mina. Stay wild and spooky, but most of all, stay magical. I will see you next time. Until then, take care.